rules are shown on the PowerPoint right now. For the borders, if it's less than or greater than, it's a dashed line. Less than or equal to or greater than or equal to is a solid line. For your shading, if you have less than or equal to, you would always shade below the graph. If you have greater than or equal to, you always shade above the graph. For solutions, it's all points in the shaded region and on a solid line. Any of those are solutions. For our first example, we have y is greater than negative 3/4 x plus 5. So for the border, it's a solid line because of the greater than or equal to symbol. For the shading, I'm going to be shading above for greater than or equal to. Then for my slope, it is the number that's next to the x, which is negative 3/4. My y-intercept, b, is 5. That is the constant at the end. To graph this, I always start with the y-intercept, which is 5. So on the y-axis, I go to 5 and plot my first point. Since it is negative 3/4, the negative tells me that my top number goes down 3 times from the y-intercept. Then the bottom number, the denominator, will always go right, and I'm going to go right 4 times. So once I go down 3 times and right 4 times from the y-intercept, I find my next point. Then from that point, I can go down 3, right 4, and I would get my third point if needed. Then I connect to make a solid line. Next, I need to do the shading. So since I'm shading above, everything above this line will be shaded. To determine which points are solutions, you plot the points. So the first point is negative 4, 8. At negative 4, 8, which is the yellow dot, since it is on a solid line, it is a solution. 5, negative 2 is the green dot, and that is not in the shaded region, so that is not a solution. My last point is 7, 3, which is the blue dot. Since that is in the shaded region, that is a solution. Next example, y is less than negative 4x. So my border is going to be dashed since it's a less than symbol. My shading for less than is below. My slope is the number next to the x, which is called a coefficient, which is negative 4. My y-intercept, since I don't see a number, would actually be 0. In order to start graphing this, my y-intercept is at 0, so I put my first point on the y-axis at 0. For my slope, it does need to be a fraction, so I put it over 1. Since my slope is negative 4 over 1, the negative tells me the top number goes down 4 times from my y-intercept. The denominator always goes to the right, so I'm going to go right 1 time. Once I go down 4 times and right once from the y-intercept, I get my second point. Then I can go down 4, right 1 once more from the second dot, and I get my third. Now I can connect and make a dashed line. Once I have my dashed line, I know I need a shade below, so everything under the line will be shaded. Now for the solutions, I have negative 6, negative 2. Negative 6, negative 2 is the yellow dot. And because it's in the shaded region, it is a solution. My next point is 0, 0, which is the neon green dot. Since it's on a dashed line, it is not a solution. My final point is going to be 2, 1, which is the teal dot. Since it is in a non-shaded region, it is not a solution. Next example. Since I have the greater than symbol, that is a dashed line. The shading is above because that's what the greater than symbol means. My slope is the coefficient next to x, which is 5, and my y-intercept is 3. So I start my first point on the y-axis at 3. In order to do slope with rise over run, I do need to make the 5 into a fraction, which is 5 over 1. Since it is positive, the top number this time goes up 5 times from the y-intercept. The denominator will still continue to go right 1 time. So once I go up 5 right 1 time, I get my next point. I can connect with the dashed line. Then I know I need a shade above the line. So everything above the line will be shaded. To find the solutions, first I have -3, 4. So if I do -3, 4, which is the yellow dot, it is in the shaded region, so it is a solution. Then I have -1, -2, which is the neon green line, dot. Since it is on a dashed line, it is not a solution. My final point is going to be 0, 1. 0, 1 is in the non-shaded region, so then it is not a solution. Next graph. So the less than or equal to means that my border is a solid line. Because it's less than or equal to, that means to shade below. My slope is 0 because there is no x. So the 0 made the x go away. My y-intercept is -2. So 0 slope means it's a horizontal line that goes through the y-axis at -2, and it is a solid line. The shading is below, so this would be my graph. Last example, this time I have x is greater than -6. Well, the greater than means my border is dashed line, and greater than symbol, because we don't have a y, we're not shading up or down, so I'll go ahead and finish that towards the end. My slope, well, since I have x is greater than -6, that means that this is a vertical line, so my slope is undefined. And I don't have a y-intercept since it's a vertical line crossing through -6 on the x-axis. So I have a dashed line going up and down through -6 on the x-axis. Well, the numbers that are greater than -6 are all numbers on the number line to the right, which means I'm going to shade to the right. That would be the graph for x is greater than -6.